I got us this dream of us taking accountability and to stop killing each other.
Welcome back to my channel. I am your favorite mother of three, Bougie Vintage, and today's video is all about the fact that Diddy apologized. Now, I have done, I think, 2 or 3 videos pertaining to the situation, and so of course, once the video surveillance footage of Diddy assaulting Cassie was released for public consumption, all of y'all were like, Bo, where are you? You know, you guys were tagging me in the video. Anywhere you could reach me to show me the video, you did. So yes, I saw the video. I was not shocked by the video. I never doubted Cassie's allegations. This was just a matter of time. The thing that I am personally struggling with the most in this whole entire situation is why narcissists and or psychopaths think that they can come out after the fact and apologize and think that nobody is going to realize that their apology is not genuine or sincere. If you recall, about a year or 2 ago, because it was during the Young Miami Diddy phase, Diddy was accepting an award. I can't remember what award show it was. If I can find the clip, I will definitely put it in the video. He was accepting an award and he stated when he was on stage, he thanked a few people. I believe one was TD Jakes and the other was Cassie.
And also Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. Love.
And he thanked Cassie for holding him down in the dark times. When the allegations dropped against Diddy, I reflected back on that moment. Automatically, I chalked it up to him taunting her. Because if somebody has abused you and they know that they can reach you somehow, if you have cut off all communication with somebody because they were abusive, they will do things to try to get your attention. There was absolutely no reason for Diddy to have ever thanked Cassie for holding him down in the dark times when, one, he had already moved on into a new relationship with Young Miami, and Young Miami was there at that event supporting him, I believe, holding up the Pappy sign, right? When he got on stage and did that, and then the allegations came out where Cassie is like, this man is evil and this is what he did to me. I already knew that when he was addressing her on stage, he was not doing it because he was thanking her for holding him down in the dark times. He was doing it because he was trying to exert some kind of control over her. He was trying to trigger her. He was trying to further silence her by making her feel like he still had power over her in that moment if she's watching the show and he accepts this award, or if it goes viral on the internet, because it did go viral. If he accepts this award and thanks Cassie and everybody starts reaching out to Cassie like, oh, did you see Diddy did this, Diddy did this, Diddy thanked you on stage for holding him down in the dark times, then they start asking her what were those dark times. At that time, she probably didn't want to talk about those dark times because they were obviously beyond dark. So fast forward to the allegations coming out, Diddy settling in like less than 24 hours, which was insane. Was it 24 or 48? I believe it was 24 hours. Diddy settling faster than any settlement had ever been settled. Diddy settled that lawsuit faster than Mexican music. He settled it so fast it didn't make any sense, okay? And so the thing about it was, when he settled it as fast as he did, him and his lawyer, his Cross's lawyer, tried to gaslight us and say that a settlement is not an admission of guilt. They also had stated that he was innocent, that this is a money grab, that these are false accusations. He pulled the Rick Ross on us, okay? And none of it was false. And so there was a good chunk of people, which I was actually just finding this out this weekend, that there was a good chunk of people that actually did not believe Cassie and that were calling her a liar and saying she was just after money and yada, yada, yada. But if you had looked into the situation, then you would have known that the reason that Cassie had to, you know, sue him in the way that she did was because the statute of limitations was up for this type of crime. Whatever day the video had dropped, I had just finished filming for the day. I took off all my makeup. I grabbed my phone. I went on Instagram, and the first thing I saw was the CNN clip of the assault video. I was like, oh my God, I just took my makeup off. But like, I wasn't about to put it back on to do no damn video because it wasn't that deep for me. So fast forward to over the weekend and Diddy speaks out and he says this.
It's so difficult to reflect on the darkest times in your life. But sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior on that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it. I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy and go into rehab. Had to ask God for his mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
I was rolling my damn eyes, okay? I'm like, you bastard, because you sat there and said the girl was a liar. People were attacking Cassie online, and again, I never even knew that this was a thing. I was told this weekend that people doubted her. I'm like, how could anybody ever doubt her? Whatever. And now they're forced to eat their words. And now Diddy's forced to apologize publicly and act like, woe is me. I was in a dark place. Baby, I've been in a dark place. I ain't never done nothing like that to anybody. Many of us have been in dark places. We have not stomped on people, dragged people, abused them. I don't care what the hell you got going on. And let alone doing that to a woman. What is that? Now, of course, if he has substance abuse issues, which according to the lawsuit from Lil Rod, there is definitely a lot of substance abuse happening. And that is understandable, but that doesn't excuse the behavior, because you have too many resources, too much time, too much access to be living a life where substance abuse is an issue, and you have the resources, access, and power to hire the best doctors, therapists, psychotherapists, clinics, whatever you need to kick your addiction so that it's not affecting other people. I don't believe that this is due to substance abuse. I don't believe that he dragged Cassie up and down the hallway and started whipping things at her because of a coke-induced rape. And I'm not gonna let nobody convince me that that's what it is, because Cassie's not the only victim. His other baby mother, Gina, nobody wanted to believe her. Rocky Thunder said that she told Van Lathan about the abuse from Diddy in 2019, and Van refused to talk about it because Diddy was his friend, allegedly. And so when you have a lot of power and status, people won't touch you with a 10-foot pole, and Diddy knew that, and he walked in that for a long time. But now he's been exposed, and so I keep seeing online people saying, y'all better give him the same treatment that you gave Chris Brown all these years, and yada yada yada. And the craziest part about it is we saw the aftermath of what happened with Chris Brown and Rihanna, but we never saw physical footage of him assaulting her. Whereas here, we're seeing Diddy terrorizing Cassie on tape. And so it's been interesting to see the celebrity response to it as well as the public response to it, because there's some celebrities that are like, oh, uplift him in prayer, and then there's others that are like, you're going to hell. Like, you know. And so it's been very interesting to see the responses to it, where I don't like the fact that we are seeing people offer Diddy grace, because I feel like everything that he's done and has been doing to not only Cassie but others has been intentional. And I stand on the fact that they need to reopen Kim Porter's case. I stand on the fact that they need to reopen Biggie's case. They need to do a lot of digging. I stand on the fact that he should be put in jail over the incident involving Shine. The girl has been on TikTok and stated that it was Diddy that shot her, that shot up the club. A lot has been alleged, and I think that Diddy needs to be held accountable.
I got this dream of us taking accountability and to stop killing each other.
Now, people didn't understand why Cassie had to sue Diddy the way she did. It was because there was no other way for her to get justice. And when the video came out, I think the DA from Los Angeles had stated very clearly that as much as they would like to press charges for that, they cannot because of X, Y, and Z. Like, Cassie really had no choice but to sue Diddy for money, and he had no choice but to pay her because he knew that what she was saying was not false. If you know you did not do something, you're not gonna settle for that amount of money, whatever amount of money it was, because we never got to figure out the figure. We don't know how much they settled for. We just know it was a lot. No 21 Savage. I wanted to quickly highlight the power and control wheel where Diddy and Cassie are concerned. I am not going to be manipulated or confused or gaslit by Diddy's apology video because it's a crock of crap. When he was on stage accepting that award, he knew what he had done to her then. You don't forget abusing people. Your victims don't forget it either. And so I know that based on whatever she put in her affidavit, he's not forgotten everything he's done to her. The people that were around him that have covered up for him, they've not forgotten it either, and he knows that. Diddy knows everything that he's ever done that's been nasty, bad, or rude. There's not any amount of drugs that is going to block it from his memory because it's just that sick. Allegedly? At this point, we don't even really need to add the allegedly because we saw the footage. Somebody that's beating you like that in a hotel hallway, that's not the first time that they've done something like that and gotten away with it. I mean, the girl was leaving the hotel barefoot. Do you know how frustrated you have to be, how scared you have to be to just want to, like you're in fight or flight mode? She was in flight mode. She took off without her shoes on. And she's a celebrity. She's literally a celebrity, and she was trying to get out of danger. That's how bad it was. And she was unable to. She was unsuccessful in her attempt to leave. A woman in an abusive situation, it takes her up to 7 times to try to leave her abuser. Okay, and to get far away enough from them so that they are not hoovered back in. On the outside of the power and control wheel, which if you are not new here, you are very familiar with this because of my experience in a narcissistic abusive relationship, but this is not about me today. But the power and control wheel is definitely something that we need to reference to look at the situation with Diddy and Cassie. So on the outside of the wheel, you have physical violence and sexual violence. According to Cassie's affidavit, there were both of these issues in their relationship. We know that there's physical violence because we've just witnessed it, and we know that there was sexual violence because she was being forced to do things that she did not want to do with outside parties and even with Diddy. As the stories have unfolded, there's been more and more allegations, and Kim Porter's friends coming out and saying things like Diddy tried to force Kim Porter to lick Cassie's. Like, what? This is a sick Negro. Like, who does that? Why is that even a thought in your brain to make somebody do something like that? Like, how do you think of something like that? It's just degrading. He lives to degrade women, and it's like, what demons are you battling inside to make you want to do that to another human being, much less somebody that you share children with, somebody that you've been dating for however many years, months, whatever. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. When I just said that just now, it reminded me of a time in my life where I used to beg for human treatment. When I look at these women that have been associated with Diddy that have been suffering this kind of abuse, these abusers don't treat people like women or humans or other people. They don't even treat them like animals. They just treat them like disposable things, They treat them like they don't matter at all. They're there to be used, abused, and treated any which way. The fact that Diddy has so much money and power is why this situation has gotten as dark as it has. Because when you add money and power to somebody that is mentally psychotic or ill, they're gonna do a whole lot of things that they shouldn't do, and they're gonna know they're gonna get away with it. But they can only get away with it until it's time for them to not get away with it anymore. Like I said, on the outside of the wheel, it is physical and sexual violence. She suffered both of those. Then one of the things in here says using coercion and threats. We also know that that was constantly done to Cassie because it's in her affidavit. Making and or carrying out threats to do something to hurt her. Well, obviously, if we saw what we saw in the hotel hallway, we know that that didn't just come out of nowhere. Threats are made for people to become submissive. There's that video of Young Jock where he talks about how Cassie's head was shaved. Well, Cassie had to shave her head because Diddy told her to, and she was very submissive to Diddy, and she was like, if Sean wants it, then Sean gets it. And so that's what these men are looking for, somebody to dominate. And so this wheel is coming back up when I do my video for Love During Lockup this week, because abusers like submission. They want somebody they can dominate and control. Threatening to leave her, to commit suicide, or to report her to welfare. Obviously, he's not going to report her to welfare. This is not that kind of situation, but definitely threatening to take things away from her or make her life hell if she tries to go anywhere. And we can clearly see that that was the case with Cassie, because he was in a power to damage her career, right? He had so much power over her career. And so that's a part of the reason why she was stuck in the situation she was stuck in, because he had every bit of power and control over her every move, over her finances, over everything, right? And if he hurt her, he would throw gifts at her, you know, shopping sprees and purses and this and that. And, he had too much power, too much control, because he was also supplying her life, making her drop charges, making her do illegal things. So according to her affidavit, she was having to solicit prostitutes. That's illegal, and so she was doing illegal things when they were together. Also, taking out prescription drugs was illegal because neither one of them needed the damn prescription drugs, but she was then addicted to opioids because of it. So she was constantly put into doing illegal things, whether it was drug related, or prostitution, or engaging in lewd conduct of any sort, or just doing things that were not legal. Using intimidation, making her afraid by using looks, actions, and gestures. Smashing things. He was throwing vases at her, destroying her property. He was taking her bags from her, dragging her, abusing pets, displaying weapons. I think it was in Lil Rod's affidavit, he had claimed that Diddy was displaying weapons. And he also alleged about the shooting that happened at that studio. Using emotional abuse, putting her down, making her feel bad about herself, calling her names, making her think she's crazy, playing mind games, humiliating her, making her feel guilty. Just read the affidavit, because all of these things are in there, okay? What was happening to her inside of their home, inside of these hotel rooms with the freak offs, those are all humiliating things. And then if she doesn't want to do it, she gets in trouble. So she's submissive to that. Using isolation. He started isolating Cassie from her family. So she wasn't having much contact with her family because he was black in her eye, and he's telling her to make sure she puts on more makeup. His kids can't see her like that, all kind of foolishness. If we are going based on the affidavit, he wasn't open, or at least not as open, with the abuse in front of the children. He hid it from the children because at the end of the day, a narcissistic person or a psychotic person in front of their children are going to try to appear like a normal person, like a loving, doting father, right? We see the Combs children with their dad all the time. We know that they love their dad and they think their dad's the coolest guy in the world. But as these things come out about him, they're probably going to start to feel conflicted in a way, like, how could my dad do that to her? Or if he did that to her, what did he do to my mom? Because their mom is now deceased. Well, the twins' mom and Christian's mom and Quincy's mom, which Quincy is Albie Shore's child, but like even that situation shows a big issue. I don't believe that Albie Shore was a deadbeat. I am sorry. I feel like he was dealt a crappy set of cards where Kim Porter and Quincy and Diddy were concerned. Using isolation, controlling what she does, who she sees, who she talks to, what she reads, where she goes, limiting her outside involvement, using jealousy to justify actions. Read the affidavit. Minimizing, denying, and blaming. And so this is what we see in the apology. Making light of the abuse and not taking her concerns about it seriously. Obviously, she was with him for 10 years. We don't know what the hell happened in that 10 years, but that video is enough for me to know that it was not 10 years of happy-go-lucky and then all of a sudden he's beating her up in the hallway. That's not how it goes. That's not how it goes. And we're not going to pretend that that's how it goes. Most often, you're love bombed, and then the abuse starts later on after they get you isolated. So once he gets you out of your parents' home, or once he gets you to himself and can start treating you however he feels like treating you, then that's when that happens. And so very early on in her career, shortly after Me and You, most likely, the abuse started. I say that in his apology video, he made light of it because he starts off the apology video pretty much saying, like, talking about dark times. Again, with the dark times reference. Like, he does call himself disgusting, but, like, you're only giving sorry you got caught. Shout out to Rihanna. Okay, you're only giving sorry you got caught. You're not giving genuine apology. Because up until the video was released, that was paid for before. You know, somebody was paid $50,000 allegedly to hold on to that video footage. I'm kind of confused as to why it was kept and not destroyed in the bottom of a damn ocean somewhere. Like, why did, if you paid $50,000, which seems like a really small amount of money, by the way. If you paid $50,000 for that video, I'm sat here puzzled today as to why it would still be existing. Did you make copies of it? Do you watch it in your free time and get off to it at your freak offs? Do you use it to intimidate other victims? Like, why did the video not get destroyed? Which is good it didn't, okay, because Cassie needed to be vindicated. I'm not saying that it should have been destroyed. I'm questioning as to why you would pay $50,000 and keep it unless it was a sick memorabilia to you. Which then we for sure know that the apology was not genuine. Saying the abuse didn't happen, we saw this firsthand. As soon as Cassie came out with her allegations, him and his lawyer denied the allegations and said it did not happen, and this is about money. Shifting responsibility for abusive behavior, saying she caused it. When you're in an abusive relationship, the abuser will most definitely blame you. Even if it's not a physical abuse situation, they will tell you that this is why X, Y, and Z. This is why I do this. This is why I don't do this. Because of you, right? When it's really just because of them. Like, you're just a crappy human being. So just eat that. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to blame me. Don't try to blame the person that you're abusing for your terrible, bad behavior. Using children. Now, they didn't have any kids, so I'm just going to skip over this. What we also saw was when Cassie first went off and got married and started her little family, we would see Diddy commenting on her stuff or commenting publicly, like congratulating them, and that was another way to terrorize his victim. Because if you know somebody has cut off complete contact with you and you keep trying to get in contact with them, or that is crazy behavior. That is abusive behavior. If somebody decides to put up a boundary and say, I don't want nothing to do with you anymore, and you still go out of your way to try to get their attention, you need to seek help. Like, literally seek help. Sir, go sit down somewhere. Using male privilege. We know for sure that this was a thing. Treating her like a servant. And so she was forced to do things she did not want to do. Making all the big decisions. He has the big dollars, so he makes all the big decisions. Acting like the master of the castle, he's Diddy. Being the one to define men's and women's roles. And so we know this to be a fact as well, because she's not the only victim that has been mistreated. And he uses not only his male privilege, but his status in Hollywood, his name, you know, he uses all those things to reel in and then control. Using economic abuse. So this one says preventing her from getting or keeping a job, which we know he did because she was a kept woman. Cassie was not working, barely working, I should say. You know, every once in a while she would be allowed to maybe go make a song, like the song with Nicki Minaj, Is that the last song we got from Cassie? I think we might have got one recently. He held her career over her head like a freaking Twinkie on a plunger on a forehead, making her ask for money, giving her an allowance. So a lot of sugar babies end up in this position because of the power dynamic. So if she was signed to Diddy at any point, which I believe she was in the beginning, he holds all of the cards. She can't get out from underneath him, because if she tries to, her career is over, so she's forced to stay. Not letting her know about or have access to family income. Now, they weren't married, so technically she had no bearings there, no ties there. She could only get what she was entitled to, and when she was associated with him, baby, she was entitled to nothing, $0.00, which is why she ended up having to sue for her emotional damn distress. Not even just emotional distress, but physical anguish. Like, he terrorized this woman, terrorized her. And I can only imagine how many more how much more footage is out there of him abusing her, or audio, or anything of that nature. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that brings us back to the front of the wheel, which was using coercion and threat. If you go back and read the affidavit between Cassie and Diddy, and then you watch everything that unfolded after the fact, you can make your own decision and your own judgment call as to if Diddy's apology was sincere and genuine or not. In my humble opinion, I do not believe that it was. I believe that this is a man with his tail between his legs. I believe that he was caught and had no choice at this point to say it was disgusting, because that's what everybody's saying. I believe that he's a sick individual. The narcissist never wants to be exposed. The narcissist does not like being exposed. And so now that he's been exposed, it started off small. And if he wasn't so arrogant, they would have settled this long before it got to the public. But he thought that he had enough power and control that it wasn't going to go as far as it has. And it was just a domino effect of bad cards being dealt back to him. The things that he put out into the atmosphere all these years, all these stories that we hear about Diddy from the 90s until now, is coming back to him now. It's a reap what you sow season. And so he's getting very much all of that. And it only took the bravery of Cassie to say something. And they were trying to handle this long before we saw it. We would have never known any of this if Diddy would have settled when Cassie initially brought forth her lawsuit, and it was a private matter at that point. But they were denying it, and I guess he felt like he has the footage. Ain't nobody gonna be able to release it and prove what she's saying. So yeah, I'm gonna deny the allegations and I'm gonna make her look stupid. But there were enough people behind Cassie at that time that believed her and commended her for speaking up. And you know, a lot of people were like innocent until proven guilty. Well, now he's been proven guilty. And I'm sure that if she put those things in that affidavit where this one incident that she alleged happened was true, everything else that she put in her affidavit was actual factuals. And Diddy knew that when she started to sue him. And he decided he's not gonna allow her to strong arm him when she really just do recompense. Okay? And so I'm interested to see where else this goes. I don't feel bad for Diddy at all. I feel bad that Cassie has to relive her traumas and everybody's, you know, watching that. More humiliation, right? Like that, watching that video was humiliating and triggering. I'm sure she probably knew that the footage was coming out before it came out, just like Diddy probably knew as well. I hope that if there's any other victims of his, that they get their justice as well. I hope that everything is uncovered pertaining to him and whatever crimes he's committed against women, children, men, otherwise, whatever. I hope it all gets exposed and that every one of his victims receive justice. I think Diddy teeters narcissistic and psychopath. I think he's in between the two. I think in black culture, I don't want to say looked up to him because I could give a damn about Diddy, but like we still held Diddy to a certain standard because he's Diddy, right? He's a mogul. He's a black millionaire, billionaire, whatever. That's important. We don't have a whole bunch of them running around. So Diddy was held to this certain high standard. It's the same with like R. Kelly. Like R. Kelly is such a big deal to black culture that when his downfall happened, it hurt us in a way, right? But it's like all the things, allegations against R. Kelly, they were there from the very beginning. They were there in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like the stuff with Aaliyah, the stuff with the little girl in the video. Those things were already known, and he got away with a lot of stuff for a long time. But then recompense happened. And so Diddy is facing the same kind of fate. There's a lot of people that we're probably going to see falling into this category. I just hope that everybody gets their justice. And although I do believe that Diddy is narcissistic and psychopathic, I don't think that either one of those things are excuses as to why he can abuse women and get away with it. And so what I want everybody to also remember is that when it comes to narcissistic abuse, which obviously Cassie's abuse was everything. It wasn't just emotional, it wasn't just mental, it was emotional, mental, physical, and sexual. And so she went through a whole lot of trauma, and it starts off slow. One analogy that my therapist had given me way back when you put a frog in water and slowly increase the temperature to boiling point, the frog is not going to know that it's in boiling water until it's too late and they die. And so that's a really how narcissistic abuse works. And so it starts off with the love bombing, and then you get isolated, and then mental games start happening, and then before you know it, they're threatening you, and then the threats turn into physical abuse. And so as a woman or a man, you might be able to get out of it at any given point if you wake up in time. By the time the mental and emotional abuse starts intensifying, that's your real clear window as to when you can escape. If you get to that point where you're being gaslit and lied to, and you're in a state of confusion always, you don't know reality from freaking falsehood. If you don't get out at that point, then the physical abuse will start. The threats will happen, and then it will turn into physical abuse. I believe that that's probably what happened with Cassie. It started off slow. She's a frog in water where the water started boiling. By the time she realized it was boiling, it was too late, right? And she's being beat up. So she was love bombed, and then she's being promised things that never happen, and then emotionally and mentally abused. Then there's the financial abuse, and there's the power dynamic, all those things. And then he probably started threatening her. Then we have the drug abuse. We can't even forget the drug abuse, which makes it easier for somebody to control you if you're hooked on drugs, right? And so when somebody has enough power, money, and control, and then they get you addicted to drugs, they can control you even better, because then you become super dependent on them, and they need you to depend on them so that the codependency relationship can work, and so that the narcissistic abuse can continue whatever levels they want it to be, because you at the end of the day are narcissistic supply for the abuser. So Cassie was a great narcissistic supply for Diddy. She was grade A supply, as they would call it, right? Because she makes him look good. She's arm candy. And then nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors except for those that are really close, and they're not going to dare say anything. So of course he's using intimidation tactics on her. You have to know that the people that are witnessing it also are fearful of him. Why they would not say anything in Cassie's defense. Nobody's trying to lose their job. Nobody's trying to not be able to work or get blackballed in Hollywood or whatever it is. And so though it's unfortunate, we know why people do not speak up when they do witness these things. I don't want this video to be too long because it really is, but when it comes to narcissistic abuse, it's really important for you to educate yourselves onto how it could have gone on for so long. And there's people that are married for 23 years with narcissistic abuser, because you live in such fear that if you leave them, they're going to be worse than when you're with them. But there's this little tiny window of escapature, if that's the word. There's this tiny little window of escape that you have to take, and Cassie saw that window. I think Alex Fine, the trainer, Diddy's old trainer, saw what was going on in that house and saved Cassie, or at least helped her get up here right so she could leave. There's just this little tiny window, and there's just it could be just one person, right? For me, it was one person, but it could just be one person that says to you, something is not right with the situation, right? And so for me, it was my therapist, but for Cassie, it was probably Alex Fine, because an abuser doesn't want you to go to therapy. They don't want you to figure them out, and the minute that you do, you're in trouble, because they realize my grade A supply is slipping through the cracks. And so where Cassie is concerned, whatever tiny window she had to escape, which she's clearly tried to leave before, she's clearly tried to leave him multiple times and would not be able to. And in her affidavit, it stated that she would leave and then she would get in trouble for leaving. He would bust her up real bad, and then she couldn't leave the house for days, so she's isolated again. Like, it's just a never-ending cycle. Honestly, that's why I'm still sitting here talking to y'all when I'm supposed to be on to my next video, okay? Because it's just a never-ending cycle, and it drives you crazy. And so where Cassie's concerned, I can see very clearly what she went through, reading her lawsuit, then watching everything else unfold after the fact, and then seeing that video. I can put all the pieces together, and my heart goes out to her, because nobody, okay, not your worst enemy, nobody should ever have to deal with anything like this. And that's on period. I love you all so much. In the comment section below, tell me what you think. I hope that this video was educational for you, and I hope that if you see this power and control wheel today for the first time, and you look at your relationship and you see something, this is kind of reminding me of my relationship. Girl, run. Man, sir, run. Whoever you are, don't wait another day. The window of opportunity to leave is very small when it comes to abusive relationships. So pay attention to the signs. Look at the power and control wheel. If your relationship is emulating that thing, baby, you gotta go. You gotta go immediately. I love you all so much, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.
Yeah. I just miss Kim, y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I know we all go through grief and stuff like that. And it's like, you know, stay connected to God, and He'll bring you out. This is not, we don't control this. But I miss Kim so much, and I just want to say thank you to Kim. Unacceptable! I gotta thank B.I.G. Unacceptable! Bishop T.D. Jakes. Unacceptable! Yeah, and also Cassie for holding me down in the dark times. Love. Unacceptable conditions!